What's going on, everybody? It's Mr. Fresh Yiddy coming at you with another morning motivation video. And today is Wednesday. It's the middle of the week, and we're excited about that because we know that the weekend is coming. But then we get not so excited because then the money stops. And we love when the money keeps flowing and flowing and flowing. Anyway, make sure that you like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so that you never miss an upload if you're on YouTube. And if you're on Facebook, yeah, I have Facebook and YouTube going at the same time. If you're on Facebook, make sure you like, comment, and make sure that you share this video with everyone. Everybody, share this video. Share this video with everyone that you know that is in business, because I have something awesome for you guys today. I'm going to be sharing some books with you that are income building, wealth building books. And these books, man, these books are awesome, man. Of course, if you're one of these people who don't have a lot of time to read, and you got to read all of these books, because I do recommend reading all of these. It's gonna take you a while, but I will tell you my secret on how I get it done and how I get it done very quickly, very efficiently, and I also do retain the information. And it just may be a way that you learn. Okay, some people are visual learners, some people are audio learners, and then some people are learners by kinesthetic, by actually doing things. I believe doing things is probably the best way to learn stuff, is to actually get out there and do it, because working or learning from a textbook does not give you everything that you need to know when you actually get out there in the field. Growing up and going to getting an MBA, they tell you here's how to do accounting, but they don't tell you that there's people who don't understand accounting, and that will tell you that you need to do things and you got to do what they tell you to do, and you're just telling them, no, we can't do it that way because the book says it. Like, there's a lot of things the books don't tell us that, textbooks don't tell us that, that goes on. They tell you, you go in and you get a good job and this and that and the other, but they don't tell you when you go in there, you got to learn how to deal with people. So there's a book for that. All right. But let me go ahead and start telling you about these wealth building books. These wealth building books are amazing. All right. So the first one I want to start with, is what is it called? Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Okay. You'll probably hear about this book a lot, and you probably have already read this book. I've read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And Rich Dad Poor Dad is about Robert Kiyosaki and how he grew up, and he had a one dad who was his original father, who was he called him his poor dad, which he worked, and he had a really good job, and he worked all his life and retired. And then he had a rich dad, which is actually his best friend's dad, who built a business and became financially free and basically a millionaire, and lived really, really, really good. So Rich Dad Poor Dad is a book, and it also tells you changes your mindset about money and things like that. So it's a good book to read. Now off of Rich Dad Poor Dad, he created a couple of other books. He has Rich Dad Poor Dad for teens. He says Rich Kid Poor Kid or something like that. And then he had the Cash Flow Quadrant, and then he had Guide to Investing. I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, Guide to Investing, and I also read the Cash Flow Quadrant. So this is what the first one I recommend. The first one I recommend is Rich Dad Poor Dad, but then off of that, the Cash Flow Quadrant, and then investing. If you want to look into investing, because these three books actually are like a continuation of Rich Dad Poor Dad. So in this cash flow quadrant, he shows you um, about this cash flow quadrant and how to work out of all of these quadrants and where you should go. So now, actually, on this quadrant here, on the E and the S side, that's the side that most of us are on. And it he really burst my bubble because I was in the lowest quadrant, which was the E quadrant. That's the employee quadrant, and then you got self-employed, and then you got business, and then you have the I, which is investing. So on the E quadrant is employees. So if you are an employee and you get W-2, you're in the lowest quadrant. So anyway, E and the S is on this side of the quadrant. That's basically the poor side of the quadrant, and you want to get to B in the I quadrant. Okay. Now, so anyway, E is the employees. That means you trade time for money. S is self-employed, which a lot of us are, and it burst my bubble because I thought, wow, I got out of the E quadrant. I'm in the S quadrant, but I'm still on the poor side. I'm like, you're still trading time for money. The only difference is now you own your job. You don't have to work for anybody. You own the job. So I'm like thinking I'm doing good. It's like, yeah, I'm doing great. But actually, yeah, you are still trading time for money, and you can't take a vacation. You can't leave. If you leave your job, you don't make any money. so he kind of opened my eyes to that, and then he tells you how to get from here to this side, and then from here to this side. Usually by just going from S to B, and B is when you have people working for you. You can leave your job. You can leave your business and come back and find it to be in the same position or better when you come back. And then I is the investor side, which we're all trying to get to, is where people don't work at all. They invest, and they make their money off investing, and they don't have to work. So rich people learn how to work less and less. And this is like working the less. The only thing you have to do is just look at investments and make investments. Here, you've created a system, and you're having people work that system for you. Okay, so you have to manage people. So you're working. Rich people find out how to work less and less and less, and make more and more and more. So that's the cash flow quadrant. That's cash flow quadrant in a nutshell. He goes through a whole bunch of different stuff. He even tells you how to make money without having to actually work for it. So that's a good one. Build wealth. All right. So the next one we're going to talk about is one that we probably all need to look at, and that is the How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. This is a good book. This book I just finished this book yesterday, and this book is about how to deal with people and how to influence people, basically how to sell people, how to make people see the things the way you see it without arguing. It's a lot of strategies, a lot of great strategies. It even tells you how to criticize people without letting them know that you're criticizing them, and get people to do what you ask them to do. So if you got employees, it's a good one. If you're selling things, of course, it's a good one. It even tells you how to get your employees to work harder for you without even yelling at them, without even making them feel bad, and making them to actually want to work harder for you, just by using the power of your words and things like that. All right, now here's one that I'm getting ready to start today. But from what I've heard from other people, and from what I'm reading, from what I kind of just went through the book, and just kind of skimmed through the book, it is teaching you a lot of stuff about investing resources, building wealth, showing you how to consume. It's called the Next Millionaire Next Door. Okay, the Next Millionaire Next Door. Okay, you're kind of thinking that you're doing everything, but you're the next door to you, that people are really, doing the thing and getting money under your nose. So this tells you a lot of good things about investing and building wealth here. Now, the mother of them all, the biggest book, that you will ever, the greatest book. And I actually recommend starting with this. I say this one for last because it's the best book. This book will change your life if you are ready for it, right? It has strategies in here, and it has the secret to getting wealth. This is the secret to getting wealth that has been used for centuries. Centuries. Okay? We're talking about starting back with Aristotle and all of those guys. Centuries. They figured this out. Okay? And the secret has been passed down until they finally figured out how to put it into a book, and they put it into a book. Now, are you ready for this one? Now, I'm telling you, when I say you have to be ready for it, you have to be ready for this one. If you're not ready for it, you'll know because you'll be like, man, this is baloney, and you'll put the book down. That means you're not ready for it. All right? But if you're ready for it, you will receive it. And when you receive it and you start working it, you'll see that it works like magic. It is called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. See this? You have to study this book, okay? You can't just pick it up and read it and be like, oh, I'm done with it. Cool. You have to study this. You have to study this. I have a workbook. I have the Think and Grow Rich workbook. Now, this book, the cool thing about this book and why I loved it when from the first line of the book, I ended up getting it in the first line. So in the book, you have to read it. I'm talking about cover to cover. You can't just skip to the first page. You can't skip to the first chapter and just be like, start working in it. No, you have to go from he ran $100 into millions. Okay, with only $100 desire to succeed, blah blah blah. You have to start here, cover to cover. Okay, cover to cover, because in the beginning it tells you about the book, and in the book, what's so cool about inside of the book is that the book starts with telling you. So you guys can see that. The book starts by telling you there is a secret in there. He's not going to tell you exactly what the secret is, like blatantly. He's not going to say, this is the secret. Okay? He says, you'll read it. The secret will stick out to you in the pages if you're ready for it. Okay? So there's a secret inside of the book, and he gives examples of it. It's all throughout the book, but you have to pick up on it. He's not going to specifically say, okay, this right here is what the secret that I was talking about. Like, no, I got it in the first line. It's throughout the whole entire book. I got it in the first line of the book because I was like, okay, because it makes you think, like start thinking. It makes you open up your mind. That's why it's so great. It's called Think and Grow Rich, not work and grow rich. Think and grow rich, because from the beginning you have to start thinking. You have to think and use your brain when you read in the book to figure out what is the actual secret that's in the book. That's the cool thing about it. I'm telling you, he said some of you will get it in the first line. Some of you won't get it until the last chapter. Some of you will get it in the middle. But if you're ready for it, okay? If you're not ready for it, you won't get it. And it sounds weird, sounds crazy, but it is exactly what the way he said it is. And then, once you start reading, I got it in the first sentence. Or the first sentence. Yep, the first sentence. I'm looking at it right now. Yep, first sentence. And I was like, oh, there it is. But I had to wait until I read through the first chapter and then the second chapter to confirm what I thought it was. And that's exactly what it was. So, you see how his book looks because you have to study this. They say read it one chapter at a time and study it. Study the chapters as you go, because there's so much information. And I've read this book probably about 4 times through, all the way through from the beginning to the end, about 4 times. And some of the chapters I've read like over and over and over. And every time I read it, something else new sticks out to me. So that's why he says you can't digest this in just one sitting. All right. So now let me tell you how I read these books. Now I read all of these books except for that Millionaire. I'm going to start that Millionaire, the Next Door book today. But I read the rest of these books, including about 3 or 4 others. Like I said, I read Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad Poor Dad. I read the Cash Flow Quadrant, which I told you about. I read the Guide to Investing. So those three, and then I read Think and Grow Rich. I read the other one, the Dale Carnegie book, How to Influence People. I finished that yesterday. I read a book called It Works. I read all of these books within the last three or 4 weeks, last month. And so let me tell you how I do it. So what I do is I buy audiobooks, okay? And I listen to the book as I work. Now, I've found that I hate sitting down, opening up a book and reading like this. I hate it. Hate it, hate it, hate it. To me, it's such a waste of time. But it's not a waste of time, but it is a waste of time because I have to sit down and use time out of my day to sit down and read. Like I read that Dale Carnegie book in 2 days. It took about 8 hours to go through the whole book and read it. So I'm saying read it, but I actually just listen to it. Okay, so I listen to it while I work. So I'm out there pressure washing. I'm listening, and I'm hearing everything. And I have the ability to hear and retain information better than when I actually sit down and read it. Okay, I'm an auditory learner, which is perfect for me because I have the keen ability to listen and remember, and I can actually, like my wife. You can even ask my wife. My wife would say, she gave me a quiz. She was like, she opened this book, and she said, okay, let's talk about faith. What's going on with faith? And I was able to say, boom, faith, that was chapter such and such. And in that chapter, he said blah, 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 blah. And this is what he was talking about. And then she'll say something random about something that he was talking about inside of the book. And I was like, oh yeah, that's in chapter 4. That's about blah, blah, blah. And I knew I could tell, like, I could do that. I have that ability to retain information, hear the information, retain information. A lot of people probably can't do that while they actually are working because as they work, they start getting their mind starts focusing on their work and not on the book. But I can literally, the pressure washing would come second nature to me. I can see what I'm doing and I'm just doing it, but I can pay attention to what I'm hearing. And I've always been like that. So I'm an auditory learner. So for you guys out there that are auditory learners, and you one of those guys that didn't have to read books in school, you can just listen to the teacher. Audiobooks probably will work for you. Okay. And for those who might need to, read and actually study, I don't know what to tell you. Do it an hour a day or something like that. And try to get it done. And it may be a thing where you might have to sit down and instead of watching TV, sit down and just pop your headphones on, listen while you're just sitting there, just right before you go to bed, maybe for an hour or two, and do it like that instead of reading. Now I do buy the books. The reason why I buy the audiobooks and then I purchase the actual book is because there are principles. There are principles inside of the book that you need to know, and it's hard to remember all of them, even though I can listen to it and I can remember some of them. Actually, my wife when she gave me that quiz, she said, "What are the 6 things that he said?" And I'm like, "Boom! Oh yeah, that's this." And I went through them, and I was able to remember them just from listening to them. But there are so many different principles that you definitely, in this book alone, you definitely have to write it down. So I always buy the book as a source of reference. So I don't actually open a book and read it like that. I listen to the audiobook, I remember, and then I come back to the book and say, okay, I remember in chapter 7 he was talking about this. So I open up to chapter 7, I read through it just to find the principles, highlight the principles, write them down so I know I can pull the principles out of the book. So that's why I buy it. That's why I actually buy the actual book. And I also buy the audiobook. So that is how I do it. And I listen. That's what I call reading. But I listen, and then I get the book, and then I pull the information out so I know exactly how to go about using the information. But I'm telling you, this one, it works. And this is, I would recommend really, well, I would recommend Rich Dad Poor Dad first, because you have to be in the right mindset. You have to be thinking in a different mindset before you start reading this one, because this. I really say read this one first, but really, in all honesty, you probably want to read this one last after you get all the information from the other books about building wealth and things like that. Then this is the mother of them all. And then I think if you read those first and change your mindset about money and how to use money and building wealth, then once you get to this one, you would be able to receive it better. I will say, if you are a spiritual person, if you're a spiritual person, then you can read this one first, because then this one will make sense to you. Okay, if you're a spiritual person, you're real spiritual, this one will make sense to you. All right, total sense to you, and you'll get it. Okay, if you're not a spiritual person, like I'm talking about, like, you don't have to be a deep spiritual person, but somebody who believes in a higher power, then it'll make sense. It'll work for you. You'll understand it right out the way. But if you're not, if you're the type of person who doesn't really, believe in, anything, any higher power or anything like that, then it won't make sense to you until you read the other ones. So that is just my analysis. I know it was a long one, guys, but it was some information in here that I guess I really wanted you guys to know. Take on your journey. That's some free game for you. And it will definitely help you out. Now, I know you're probably talking about, man, I don't want to read 6 books, man. I don't got time to read all those books. But telling you, you need to always, that's one of my principles that I teach in my courses, is that you always need to be perfecting your craft, and always be a student and always learn new things. Okay. And then one of the ways to sharpen your skill is to read a book. Like even though I do marketing, I still read marketing books. I read another book just recently to help me improve my funnels and things like that on my website. So I read a guide to marketing, even though that's what I do. So so I'm revamping my stuff because of that. I'm always perfecting my craft. Okay. So when I perfect my craft and it begins to increase my revenue, then I'll be bringing those other extra things to you. Okay, because I don't give you anything that I haven't done that hadn't worked. All right. So everything that I bring to you, I'm totally transparent. Everything that I bring to you, it has worked. All right, and I know how to make it work. That's why I continue to learn and grow, so I can make things work better and more efficiently. Okay. Anyway, that's my time, guys. I know I took up a lot of your time. Hopefully you guys will watch this all the way through to the end. And this is Mr. Fresh. You